I'm a professor in the Department of Statistics at the University of Warwick. There are quite a lot of us, quite a big department. I went down to a 70% contract at the beginning of COVID because the university wanted some of us to volunteer to do that. But in my case, that wasn't that big a difference because I do quite a lot of work as an expert witness in medico-legal work. So that means my typical week would be Mondays and Fridays. I might well be doing expert witness work. And then in the 3 long days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, when I'm in the office, there's some time talking to students about projects and dissertations, sometimes giving lectures and teaching. Some of the time, well, too much time seems to be emails coming in. And then thinking about research. And now that we're more back in the office, talking about ideas with people, trying to solve problems, as well as some more general chat and thinking about what's going on. So one of the projects I was working on, and quite hard and getting more puzzled by, is actually thinking about missing data. And the verbal descriptions, which are quite sensible, quite clear, something's missing completely at random if it doesn't depend at all on the variable you're interested in. But something like how much do you earn, the answer to that might well depend on whether you're asking somebody who's employed or unemployed, or a man or a woman. And so there's quite a lot of machinery around. And I think that the assumptions are often not actually as clear as people would like them to be. And so I've been trying to tease out how to use graphical methods to really understand different ways in which data might be missing and different ways in which you can investigate whether the assumptions that are being made are likely to be true or not. So a bit of mathematics, but also it often for me comes from areas where I'm working. So I've got a good idea that if you're asking somebody about their education and how well they can read, most people don't want to say, well, actually I can't read. So you have biases. I guess I do enjoy both the times when you can just sit and think very hard about a particular problem and try to solve it. But also the parts where you're actually interacting with students, colleagues, particularly supporting people to begin to develop their understanding much more about data and what's important and how to think about solving problems, phrasing problems, solving them. So I think for me the personal interaction side is pretty important. I guess, so I was always interested in maths. I think you tend to quite often get born with that if you land up in a maths career. In terms of statistics, I guess I had some idea about it because my father was a consulting actuary, but it was really when I went to Edinburgh University to study maths and stats and started getting involved in some of the ideas there, both the theory and the practice, that I thought, this is quite interesting, and this is the area I want to stay in. Statistics, interacting between playing with nice maths and interacting with real life problems. So I would have started going to RSS meetings in '83 when I started my PhD at Imperial College. And yes, went to meetings, have memories of the red papers of those days. I suspect I probably joined in 1986 when I got my first job. I may have joined as a student member, but I can't remember. So it's getting on for a good 40 years ago anyway. So I've done quite a few different things over the years. I've tended to always try to support my local group as I've moved around. I've been on medical statistics committee, stats and the law, various other aspects of just contributing to the life of the society. But I think the thing that I've probably most excited about, and I'd like to carry on trying to develop, is the work with the African Institute of Mathematical Sciences. So that's pitched at MSc level largely, where there are a number of roles, but I've gone out and taught statistics courses in an intensive 3-week block in South Africa, Ghana, Cameroon, Tanzania. And you're interacting with people who've often had a very much tougher time getting an education certainly than I had, and who are very keen to learn, but for whom, very few of whom have actually had that much experience of getting access to data with good equipment, as in having the software to actually do an interesting analysis and present it well, and developing their interests, going out developing their interests, encouraging them through essays, and then in some cases, helping them to take their careers further. And that's been really good. So this is one of the important things, was finding out what's going on in the world. Particularly, when I started, it was pre-internet. And so if you wanted to know what was happening in different areas, you needed to go to seminars, and there was a very rich program. And then, of course, alongside that, it's getting to meet people at those meetings, at conferences, making connections that way. So both the formal and the informal, I think, have been very important. And then, of course, the journals, reading, learning, and the support of knowing that there are other people around you can talk to about what's happening. The fact that you can think of something, try to formulate a good question, and then work out to what extent you can answer it reliably, or what you would have to do to come up with a reliable answer, and then what the next problem is going to be. Apart from the obvious one of don't try my footsteps, I can think of many mistakes I've made. I think something actually I was told early on, and you'll find a lot of people saying, it helps to be really curious and interested in what you're trying to do. And so to that extent, I think it helps to recognize your weaknesses as well as your strengths, and try to work at things that you're good at doing, rather than trying to do something because somebody else says it's important.